Hello, my name is Alex Iles and welcome to the Temple of Mithras here at Brocolitia on Hadrian's Wall. Now Mithras is a really interesting deity up here on Hadrian's Wall because originally he was actually Persian. The Romans saw the cult of Mithras across in Persia, they adopted him and they brought him into the Roman Empire and they Romanized him. And his cult spread across the whole of the Roman Empire through the army. He was incredibly popular among soldiers, and we found Mithraeums, which is what you call a temple to Mithras, in the Middle East, in Germany, and up here on Hadrian's Wall. The temples of Mithras were set out all very similarly. So inside here you would have an entranceway and then you'd have a wall directly in front of me where you can see these concrete pillars. And this is where the worshippers would enter and new initiates would come, because the Temple of Mithras was a tiered worship system. You would start off as an initiate and you would rank up through going through initiations and trials, which were both physical and mental. And as you ranked up, you would eventually come to the 7th level, which was the Father, the highest rank inside the Temple of Mithras. As you came inside here, the Temple of Mithras was set out to look like a cave, because a key part of Mithraic worship was the fact that Mithras had slain a bull in a cave and he'd used that to create the world. So darkness, fire and light were key parts of the worship of Mithras, and there would be a carved image of Mithras slaying a bull surrounded by the zodiac at the far end of any Mithraeum. Right here you can see one of Mithras's attendants, and there are actually two statues of these in the Great Museum in Hancock that were excavated from here and then taken and looked after now by Newcastle University. So you have got one here and one here, and these attendants would carry torches or fire, and so again you see that symbols of light in this dark cave-like building. On either side you had these raised beds, and that's where the worshippers of Mithras would lie and have communal meals. As I mentioned before, it was a tiered worship system, so it's quite probable that depending upon your rank within the Mithraeum, you would sit at different places, and so the highest ranking probably at the far end, and then closest down here would be the lowest ranking initiates. We often see there are dedications from cavalrymen, officers, centurions, and commanding officers to Mithras on Hadrian's Wall, so it's more likely it was a more officers cult than it was a normal ranking soldiers cult. Moving down here as well, you can see 3 altars dedicated to Mithras as well, and these 3 altars are very interesting because they were dedicated by 3 consecutive commanding officers here at Brocolitia, and so we can see the commanding officers were connected to the Mithraic cult and were the high-ranking officials within the cult as well, and so they probably used it to give out prestige, and alongside it as well to show off their faith and their dedication to the cult within the fort as well. So Mithras would have been very important to these commanding officers. One thing I like to point out as well is if you look here today, people have still left offerings or votive offerings to Mithras even in this modern day, and I find that quite interesting that even in the 21st century people are feeling that there is something important about this site on Hadrian's Wall, and so they keep leaving these small little offerings to Mithras right here, and it comes in the form of money and in one case sweeties, so I do hope that Mithras enjoys his sweets. Mithraic cults continued throughout the whole of the 3rd century into the 4th century, and they were very, very popular, as I mentioned, with the army. But with the legalization of Christianity, Christianity started growing within the empire, and more people became Christians, and there was also a little bit more pressure from the state that the army should become Christian as well, and so because of this, fewer and fewer soldiers were now Mithraic worshippers and more were Christians, and so because of that, Mithraic temples were destroyed or left, and they were damaged over time and destroyed because of the fact that many of the altars here would be seen as idolatry. So because of that, the Temple of Mithras here at Hadrian's Wall was destroyed in the middle of the 4th century, and instead you can see more of an element and a focus on Christianity, especially with other churches coming through in places like Hausted and Vindolanda, where they've excavated Vindolanda recently recently and discovered there's over 5 churches based on that site. So we can see how it transformed and changed, and even though Mithras was an incredibly popular god, he has a very small time period within the Roman Empire for the height of his popularity and then the decline of his cult here on Hadrian's Wall. So I hope you've enjoyed my story today of how a Persian deity was adopted and Romanized, became popular throughout the army, spread throughout the empire, and then eventually was replaced by Christianity, this new faith that was coming in through from the east as well. And even today, how people come from all over the world and still leave a small offering to Mithras here on Hadrian's Wall. And so there's something about this site that still resonates with many people today, and they want to honor this this Persian deity even to this day. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and that you'll join me for another one soon. But until then, stay safe and keep well.